What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the November 27, 2023 edition of Raw Talk. Megan Morant, Matt Camp in the studio, opening up the episode, running down the biggest headlines from last night's show, including recapping the Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso segment, setting up McIntyre, wanting his hands back on Rollins, and Rollins versus Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship next week on Raw. They also hyped that matchup for next week's Raw. Matt Camp mentions that Jey Uso might be targeting Rollins' back, and Drew's frustrations as of late kind of boiling over, attacking Rollins and Jey, and how he might factor into the finish of that matchup next week. We'll see. They also recap Nia Jax versus Zoe Stark from Raw last night, and we hear from Baszler backstage afterward to discuss it with Jackie Redmond. She says that Zoe Stark still has her respect, and that Nia Jax probably forgot that it was Baszler. She was the one that put Nia Jax on the shelf in the first place for over 2 years with a broken arm, and it might be time to remind her. So back in the studio, they hype up Shayna versus Nia for next week's Raw. Were they not advertising that for Raw like a month or two ago? And I don't think it happened due to the brawl that they had to open up the show that week. I think it was right around the time Triple H first took over complete control of creative. So we might be finally getting that match next week on Raw. They recap the tag team turmoil matchup won by the Creed brothers to become the #1 contenders to the undisputed WWE tag team titles. We hear from Alpha Academy, who came up short in that matchup backstage. Chad Gable praises Otis, he praises Akira Tozawa, before being interrupted by Indu Sheer and Jinder Mahal. Jinder says that their success will be built on their misfortune. And Chad Gable also mentioned, didn't you guys lose too in that matchup? Like, why are you coming at us? You also lost in that match. So it seems like they're setting up either a match or a mini program between Indu Sheer and Alpha Academy, which, Alpha Academy is at least over, so that might work. Indu Sheer is not. They've barely been on Raw this year, and I like Indu Sheer, so hopefully they can get an opportunity, make the most of it, get over. But they need to be on TV more consistently for that to work. And then also to close out that segment, I forgot to mention this. Tozawa does his dumb little dance, which I think is fucking hysterical, by the way. A lot of people probably find it dumb. I think it's funny. Byron Saxton then dances with Akira to close out the segment, so honestly, I got a good chuckle out of me. They then recap Randy Orton versus Dominic Mysterio from the show last night. Matt Camp says that everyone in the bloodline is in Orton's sights. And I know that they buried the hatchet, did Jey and Randy on last night's show. I'm not completely convinced that Randy still does not have it out for Jey Uso, and that he does not have an RKO for a receipt coming his way in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. Maybe even costing him the World Heavyweight Championship next week on Raw instead of Drew McIntyre. They recap the Cody Rhodes-Nakamura segment with Nakamura interrupting Cody Rhodes and attacking Cody Rhodes. Not recapping it, they replay the whole segment here. They also recap Chelsea Green and Piper Niven beating Tegan Nox and Natalya to retain the WWE Women's Tag Team titles. We hear from Green and Natalya, not Natalya. We hear from Green and Piper Niven backstage afterward. Chelsea Green says that they exposed Tegan Nox and Natalya as fake challengers and now they can be gone. And Piper Niven says that anyone who wants some can step up. Matt Camp says that Chelsea and Piper are becoming more dominant by the week as tag team champions. And then to close out the show here, they replay the entire CM Punk promo addressing the audience to close out Raw, which I thought overall was kind of underwhelming. I get more into that in my Raw review from WrestleRant.com in written form. Check it out when you get a chance. Matt Camp says Punk has defended the best in the world title for the last 12 years, which he really hasn't until he went to AEW 2 years ago. But now he's back here in WWE. Not everyone is happy about it. He mentions Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins kind of alluding to the issues that they might have with Punk. But Camp does say that Punk has a connection with the audience like no one else, and that he's here to make money and not friends, which was, I thought, a great show closing line from Punk that we didn't even hear in the promo itself, but rather after the fact, which I thought was interesting. So keep an eye out for that. But he does have unwavering confidence, and we'll see how that kind of plays out in the coming weeks. Will people continue to like him? Will people see through the bullshit, which it kind of sounded like a lot of what that promo was bullshit. So again, we'll find out in due time. They plug Santos Escobar for the bump coming up on Wednesday, and that was it. So a pretty solid edition here of Raw Talk, recapping all the events from last night's Raw, which was overall underwhelming, disappointing after all the hype going into the show. I thought it was a fine 3-hour show, but it could have been bigger, it could have been better for all the hype that it had coming into it from Survivor Series on Saturday. Thank you guys for checking out my review of Raw Talk. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.